Welcome, and thank you for joining us today as we discuss the current emerging technologies and best practices for the digitization of freight logistics. My name is Yesenia Busto. I'm the product marketing manager here, and I will be your host for today's webinar, which is entitled How to Become a Digital Forwarder and Deliver a Connected Customer Experience. During this webinar, we'll explain why digital transformation is critical for your survival and uncover the top key features forwarders should look for when selecting a digital freight portal. But first, before we begin, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items. You will receive a recording of the webinar after the session is complete. Send us your questions through the Q&A panel as well. Today's expert presenters are Harm Wessels.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining.
We have Fernando Tavera.
Hi, everyone. Nice to be here.
And Christian Lidemans.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see all of you here.
So Harm has more than 20 years of experience in the shipping and logistics industry, 13 of which have been in international management positions. Since 2019, he's helped digitize the logistics industry as a CCO of Quick Portals, and now as managing director of APAC for Magaya. Fernando, Magaya's digital freight product manager, has developed and implemented software products for many industries, including freight and logistics. He's facilitated the digitization of companies' operations through enterprise and warehouse management solutions. Last but not least, we have Magaya's VP of Product, Christian. He leads our product management team and is passionate about building valuable products our customers love. He likes coffee, problem solving, and snowboarding. So now, without further ado, let's get started. The freight forwarding industry is seeing a massive disruption because of digitization. And quite frankly, digitization in the freight industry is inevitable. Not only have we seen the many ways freight forwarders are facing digital transformation as they are being threatened by different types of companies, but we're also seeing carriers making efforts to digitize their processes to the point that some of the world's top carriers are already providing instant quotes. For instance, according to McKinsey, carriers' digitized direct shipper carrier bookings could go from less than 5% to 20%. Shaking things up for freight forwarders, which is why adopting new technology and making it a vital part of their business is so critical. It's really important that all industry players keep up with the technological advances and join the new digital era. Those who don't are at risk of being left out of the market and could possibly vanish in time. Now let's review the benefits of digitization in the freight industry. Number one is a reduced margin of error. Automation helps reduce the margin of error in freight businesses. Logistics software solutions are made to simplify rates and contract management so that the sales process can be optimized and errors can be avoided. Number two, differentiation and added value. With technology's help, all businesses can develop features that add value to their offerings and set them apart from the rest. We now see a lot of traditional logistics companies offering more or less the same services. But the new players, such as the startups, are bringing new value to the table and may be taking over the market. Number 3 is to be at the forefront of the competition, something that all of our customers seek. So currently there is not a clear and strong domination of the market. And there's a lot of competition emerging with digital support. It's vital for freight forwarders and other logistics players to hurry up and embrace the new technologies to be available to themselves, to put themselves at the forefront of the competition. And last but not least, we have an improved customer experience, probably the most important. Traditional forwarders need to step up and improve their customer experience to be able to compete at the same level as digital forwarders. For example, instead of freight forwarders taking days or even weeks to send quotes to their customers, they should start automating their tasks to speed up the process, and this would take their customer experience to another level. As you can see, there are a lot of benefits of digitization in the freight industry. It won't be long until digital transformation takes over the market. Fully automated sales and customer experience will become the industry standard and set the expectations. The question is, will you be ready? Luckily, traditional forwarders can now invest in digital freight portal to bring their business into a new era of digitization. By adopting the use of a digital freight portal, freight forwarders can offer a broader range of logistics services, building their core value proposition around a seamless experience of shipping goods while collecting information in one solution. Digital freight portals also reduce the over-reliance on manual processes, eliminating the hassle of hours or days of back and forth conversation and paper trails. The major benefit of a digital freight platform and the major features include instant quotes, transparent pricing, comparison of rates, carriers, and schedules, built-in traffic tracking, easy documentation, all in a customer-facing portal. There are many digital solutions available to improve the speed, efficiency, and accuracy of your day-to-day forwarding and logistics operations. Next, we'll cover 8 key features forwarders should look for when selecting a digital freight portal. But first, let's take a survey, because who doesn't like a survey? Tell us, which of the following functionalities do you currently offer your customers? Is it A, instant quotes, B, built-in traffic tracking, C, comparison of rates, carriers, and schedules, or D, a customer-facing portal? And if there's none of these, you can select E, none of the above. Go ahead and select your answers in the module. Thank you for that. Now, it seems like none of the above was the most common answer, coming in at 59%. But it's good to see that most of you are providing instant quotes. So you're almost there, but we can help you get there. Don't worry. All right. So Fernando, can you tell us about what we should be looking for in a digital freight portal?
Sure, thank you, Yesenia. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very pleased to be here. I'm Fernando Taveras, product manager for Digital Freight Portal. And we're running through some of the main aspects that we should consider in a digital freight portal. What would give us an edge on acquiring these kind of technological tools. So first thing first, I would like to talk about the customer experience. I mean, it's mainly one of the most important aspects here because you can really impact in customer service with boosting your customer experience. And sometimes customer experience doesn't even start, in the interaction with your company. Maybe, the shippers already went through, searching in Google for carriers, for other freight forwarders, and they're having a pain to get a quote so they can do business. So this can be a huge differentiator to generate more revenue. Sometimes we cannot deliver the best price, and it's maybe not because of factors that we can control, but we can offer the best customer experience. So think about how to boost this, and with technology, don't let customer service just to be a subjective value proposition on your website, and give technological tools to do this. And talking about a portal, going technical here, a white label portal that will be fully customized for your colors, your logo, letting the customer feel that they are actually going into your office. This will make a huge difference, and this will boost the image of your company. So secondly, and also, going to something very important in the process is the rate management. If you're still using traditional means to manage rates, just as spreadsheets and emails, phone calls, you must think about other ways. With a digital freight portal, you can benefit from having accurate and timely rates from a huge amount of carriers, and this will make a difference. I will mention a lot revenue, but this is all about, having better tools to treat better our customers and having more revenue bring back to the house. So margin management is also important here, so you can differentiate how you calculate margins over the rates, maybe differentiating the type of customers, routes, or any other factors that you consider important. And why not saying that flexibility is also important. So not just have rigid rates and margins, but the flexibility to modify those rates and offer special or discounted rates if needed, to your customers. So this will also put an edge on your side. Next important aspect here will be, how do you manage the quotes? All right. So in this way, with a customer-facing portal, customers will have the opportunity to instantly get a quote, and do business through your portal, because it could be frustrating for a shipper not to be able to quote to their customers, if they will, they will sell, to other countries, and they are not just getting the quote for the shipping, so they could lose business. So this will make customer loyalty through your company a very important factor. This will also elevate customer experience and benefits for you. This should lower your cost of sales. Okay, so having this instant quoting solution will totally make a difference. Okay, and also to have more visibility. You might notice with this portal, what is that your customers are actually requesting and what you might not being able to provide. So this will also be very important to consider, you know, in a digital freight portal. And let's talk also about schedules. You know, with a digital freight platform, we can handle more than 100 carriers in the platform, and you know, throw all those schedules to the customer's disposal. This will grant you not to lose revenue opportunities, and maintaining and sharing schedules shouldn't be a pain. You know, communicating with multiple carriers, NVOCCs, airlines, you name it. This can be challenging. So having a platform where you can, you know, see and select your preferred schedule as a shipper, as a customer in an instant will actually be great. I mean, this will be a big difference, create a big difference, and also less legwork you have to do. Okay, because you know customers will be searching for this and selecting their preferred schedules. And once you see all those schedules in the platform, the customer can be able to actually book, you know, and automating bookings will reduce the margin of error, will make more efficient way to manage shipments from the start, and also this will be a time-saving tool to reduce redundant data entry. So so this is where everything starts, you know, for the shipping once the customer actually books. And I'll talk about that later, but you will have, you know, the ability to see how many quotes never came to a booking. So that could be also a very interesting thing to see, data to see. And it's all about the shipments, right? So all the coordination needed between so many players, I mean, carrier, agents, brokers, consignees, you name it, can be also challenging. And once the shipment is on, customers will be able to manage and track their shipments through a collaborative interface where documents can be updated automatically. So this is also a huge advantage. And if you have this integration with your TMS system, this will, you know, make big impact on your operations. Next, it's all about keep all the stakeholders informed, right? So on the shipment, having this tracking and visibility, you know, avoiding your operational staff, you know, to keep going into the carriers' portals and, you know, sending emails back and forth, answering phone calls, you know, just to give a status, you know, having this tracking and visibility in the portal and letting the customer to see this when matters will make big impact. So this is very important. So what comes next then is reporting. What you can manage, you cannot measure, right? And you cannot be better at that point. So have you ever thought how many quotes you are converting to an actual booking? How many are being lost, you know, falling through the cracks, maybe because you don't have the price, maybe because the shipper never received an accurate quotation or at the time they needed it. So all this reporting will also let you know where are you heading and what pain points maybe you have to attack, you know, to be better. And well, this leads us to our next poll. So the question, what digital freight portal features would be the most beneficial for your company to have in its arsenal? So you can see here already the options. Would you say schedules, rate management, maybe bookings, tracking and visibility, quotes, shipments, or maybe all of the above? So happy to see your answers. Wow, so the dominant answer here was all of the above. This is great. I think the digital freight portal can do big impact on your business, and I agree. I mean, we need all these factors to be addressed, you know, to make great impact on your customers and your business. So thank you for your questions. We're actually almost heading to a demo, so you will be actually able to see and land all these ideas that we were talking about. But first, I would like to show you this fact. According to the supply chain dive, the pandemic caused over 70% of enterprises to accelerate their digital supply chain transformation initiatives. So be sure to be part of this statistic. Accelerate this change. This will make huge difference to your business. And I will pass to Harm. He will be very happy to show you a demo. Go, Harm.
Great. Thank you, Fernando. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here today. I have the honor to do a little bit more of a tangible session with all of you. So I'm going to show you a little bit in practice what Fernando talked about in theory in the previous charts, right? So I'm going to show you the Magaya solution today to all these important aspects that we discussed in the earlier charts. So with the Magaya digital freight portal, actually we cover all of the aspects that we talked about. So that means like rates and how do we get the rates to the parties involved. We talk about schedules and schedule management. We cover quotes and self-quote functions, right? So does the customer quote himself or herself through the portal, or do we send quotations? We talk about bookings and what happens after with this booking. So the shipments and how we can do shipment management. We will talk a little bit about tracking and reporting, because all these functionalities that we have listed here on the right are all covered under this roof of the Magaya digital freight portal. So important are the features, but as important as the features that we have here is actually your brand. What we envisioned when building this tool was actually that we find an easy way that we can take your brand in the offices and on the desks of your customers, right? So whatever we have here as a tool is absolutely customizable, comes as a white label version if you want, and you can just design it in the way and the look and feel as per your liking. Typically, speaking from a Magaya point of view, right, we help you setting up the first front end for sure. So your own brand will for sure be communicated in a very good way, I think. And then whenever you feel later you want to add certain front ends to it, maybe you want to create sub brands, or you want to create, for example, a customer brand, right? So you're working maybe for a bigger customer and you want to reflect their brands on there. Then there are no limits, so you can design these pages in the look and feel that you like. A second aspect that is important for our Magaya digital freight portal is actually the ability to integrate And I'm not sure we should say that or shouldn't say that, but very important is that you can not only integrate this into the Magaya ecosystem, so that means you don't necessarily only have to use Magaya tools, but it also works perfectly fine if you're a customer already of another TMS system, another transport management system, but you still want to use the Magaya front-end solution, then you can do so. We can still integrate with that. However, all of the tools that we have listed here on this chart, we consider as very, very important when it comes to running such a portal in a successful way, right? So, and the reason is all the information that we're going to display to a customer, and you will see what we display to the customer in a second on your screen. That needs to come from somewhere, right? So we need a good rate management engine in the back end. So we have a solution in the organization, which is called Catapult, right? So where you can pull the rates from the rate management engine and display it to your customers. The information that you or that the customer at the end of the day enters for you, right? So when they create a booking, for example, this has to go somewhere. So this will have to feed in the TMS system, and the TMS system then on its own also heavily relies on a couple of other data sources or integrations like we have listed them here. And for that purpose, we certainly want to highlight whatever you choose in this way, right? Make sure that the solutions actually support the necessary integrations. So from our point of view, you're covered with that. And that basically now just leaves me to showing you how the portal would look like. So we come to the interactive demo, and that means we have to do a little technical switch here, and I'm sure my colleagues will do it great. I hope I will do as well, and share my screen with you now in a second here. Voila. There you go. I hope you can see my screen, and I hope it's also the right screen. So yeah. So what you see here now is, if all goes well, the online portal. So this is the customer front end. And this My Digital Freight is actually the brand, or is a brand that we invented for demo purposes here. I hope you can see my screen. I normally get a confirmation, which I currently don't get. So I hope you can see it. Otherwise, my colleagues quickly need to let me know. Yes, we're good. Very good. Okay, perfect. So with a bit more confidence, I can say, no, you see my screen and you see My Digital Freight as a demo brand that we invented, right? So imagine My Digital Freight being your brand. So this should be the one, or this logo here could be replaced with your logo. All the colors that you see here can be replaced with your colors. And the images entirely be replaced by your images. So whatever you see here that is carrying this virtual brand now, My Digital Freight, is actually geared for your customer. But we will also have to do a couple of functionalities or a couple of operations in the backend, right? So the backend is everything that covers this, or that is covered here with this light blue bar on top, with this quick brand on the left. So everything that we do here is really for your teams, right? So your teams would do certain operations here, would respond to customer requests, can manage the site itself, can accept bookings, and so on. Important to say is that quite a few of the operations that I'm going to do here in a second can be replaced by your TMS, right? So we don't have this for this demo purposes here integrated. But mainly when you send, for example, a booking into your TMS, you wouldn't respond to it here in the backend, but you will respond to it in the TMS itself. But I will give you a little hint whenever we come to such a situation. Okay, let's start from a customer point of view. So at this point, I'm already logged in here as a customer. If I would not be logged in, I could still access this page. So I could get here. I could even fill out the information that I'm going to type in here on the right in a second. However, the tool would not give me any results, right? So the reason is fairly simple. First of all, it is like data integrity, right? You want to make sure that only people who trust and know get to see the rates that you have. But on the other side, it also differentiates or defines the rate level that we're going to display back to the customer, right? So you might have certain customers or customer segments that have different rate levels. So you want to be sure that you show the right rates to the right user, and that's why the login here is very important. So yeah, how does the process now go? You see it already here. What we want to do is an instant quotation. We can tell the system what we want to ship. And my example is here in FC. I move now from, let's say, New York to Rotterdam. And I can work here with low codes like I did here. Or I can also just type a part of the port name. The system will even help me to find the right ones, right? There might be a couple of options. So I can just type this in. I can now tell the system whether I'm a buyer or a seller. This is not a mandatory field. However, when you observe here the accessorials, then my selection has a certain impact on what the system chooses as default accessorials for the selection of surcharges and charges. So if I say I'm now a buyer with an FOB shipment, the origin charges will be deselected. However, I can always override it. So if I say, hey, I'm actually not caring about destination customs clearance, but I want to see the origin charges, then I can still do so. Cargo ready date has an influence on the validity or the rates which I'm going to see, which are valid at this point in time. I then have my currency, and you see we can choose from the main currencies, but also a long list of other currencies here we can select. We are, for the sake of easiness, here now we'll stick to US dollars. Then I can provide details of my cargo. So for example, I can say in this case, I have 7 20-foot containers to ship, and my commodity is FAK. We are supporting commodity-based pricing. So in case you have certain rate agreements with certain carriers for certain commodities, then we would display them back now. And then we can provide a weight. So let's say in this case, we have 8,000 kilograms here per unit. As you see, we are using either metrical or imperial system. Both of them works very well. And now when I just click create quotation, the system will start working. Yeah, so what happens now, the portal solution goes back now to, or the portal here goes back to your rate management software or the rate management software of your choice, right? So in our case, this goes obviously to Catapult, and we are pulling rates from Catapult in this case. You see here the option where we, or now that the search results come in, you see the different options that we display to the customer, right? So to the shipper. And I think in terms of look and feel, most probably will remind you to some, when you search for flights, for example, right? Or with airlines, hotel bookings and so on. So you see the search results in the center, you see what it's going to cost you on the right, and you see a couple of filter options to the left. So let's go through them one by one. What we have here indicated is the carrier itself. We know the port of loading, port of discharge, obviously. And then we have the transit time and the validity. So on the all-in rate here, we can directly press the book now button. So that makes it very easy for customers to place the booking. However, we know that in many cases, people are very, very interested in the details. So then they can go into the breakdown of charges. We do this in a second, but before we do that, I just want to give you a hint. So on the left here, you see a couple of filters. There might be clients who have a certain desire to ship with certain carriers. So in that case, they can just select the carriers of their choice. Or if they say, hey, I don't like the one or the other option, they can just deselect the ones, and then these ones will not be shown on the right here anymore. They can also apply filters on the port of loading, port of discharge combination here. This is not so important at this point in time. However, if you think about a scenario that we do that as well, the customer wants a different rate, a lower rate, then you might go back to the client saying, okay, I can ship from New York to Rotterdam for a lower price, but only if I ship until Antwerp and I truck the last mile, for example, right? So, and then you have, in that case, two different discharge or port of discharge options, and the customer can use these filters as well. And then we can apply filters by port of loading, by price and transit time. Yeah, let's jump into the breakdown of the charges. This is how it will look like. Don't judge us now on the rate levels that you see here or whether they always make sense or not. There is also a lot of test data and demo data that we put in over the time, or me doing a couple of these demos and adding surcharges left and right and center. But overall, it is basically what we pull from in this case the rate management source. We see here the terminal handling charges, we see the freight charges and the breakdown of that, the destination charges with the breakdown of them as well, and the total price in the currency that we want to be quoted in. We see the original charges as well, if they are in euro or any other currency, so we can easily follow up on the cents of all of that. And then we see here some important remarks. In this case, it is the validity, but might be, if you think about LCL, also limitation on long length, for example, weight limitations, dangerous good limitations, exclusions that you might have, right? All of this can be listed here in the remarks section. And then we have the next available departures. We have the ability to display schedules from more than 100 carriers. That includes FCL, LCL, air, right? So for all modes of transport. And we merge them with your quotations. So that means in this case here, we have a scenario where we look into FCL move 4.1 with the validity until the 31st of December. 2025, I think we put in there, it's demo data, as I said, right? So it will now pull all the next available departures which fit to this criteria to one with the validity that we mentioned on this particular trade, right? So if a customer now books here on the Cape Pioneer in this case, then this booking will be placed directly for this departure and the carrier that the quote was valid for. Yeah, if a customer is not happy with such a request or with such a rate result, they can send a request here. They can give you a reason, and I guess all of you will agree that in 90% of the cases, the customer will ask for a better rate. So we can do this here as well, and we can say, hey, can you give me E with 20% off, something like this, right? So, and now I send this request. So this will now trigger a couple of things. First of all, and that's the most important part, it will keep a record here for the customer, but it will alert your pricing team or your quotation team to do something. Fernando was talking about it already a little bit, like you keep an overview on what has happened in terms of quotations everywhere. So you see here the overview of all the quotes that went out in the one or the other way to the customer. And you see right here on top or in front, the status of the quote. So you see some of them are open, some of them are booked. These are of course the great ones. And then we have the ones that are labeled as requests. All of this here give you a hint actually on what customers want, right? You see New York, Rotterdam is our demo trade lane here. I use it a lot. But also maybe customers might be interested in, for example, here Los Angeles, Shanghai, and get certain results back. And this was 2 days ago. But now I see here on the left, this request is open. So that means my colleague Alison hasn't done anything, right? So she just asked for a rate, but never placed a booking. She never asked me for a better rate. So something is cooking here, right? For me as a salesperson now, this is an interesting lead. Maybe it's time to call Alison again and to say, hey, you've been checking my rates here, but you didn't book anything. What do I do wrong, right? Do I have to improve my rates or not? Then I see when my business is converted. So all the requests that I got with the options that went out here for an air request from Durban to Frankfurt with 4 offers, this is booked. And then I see the ones like this ones here with the red alert. This is where the customer or the prospect really wants something. So here we can go into the quote ID now and now respond directly to the client. We see here, and this helps us a lot, we see what the customer obviously wants, from where to where they want to ship and what they want to bring to Rotterdam. And then we see the offers that the system has already created. We also see the customer request here. In this case, they choose for the option with 1 and 20% off. So they ask us for that. So we know directly what we have to do. And now we can look into the details of all the quotes that we have provided to the customer. right here on the top, this actually reminds me, we also have the option through the rate management portal that we are supporting, right? In this case, Mehr Sport here, or through Catapult, to show spot rates from certain carriers. So that means like it does not always have to be really your agreed tariff rate. We can also look into individual cases where we are supporting an API rate feed for spot rates, for example. Yeah, I want to stay a little bit with our ONE or one example here. So the customer wants an improvement here, and what I can do now, me as the person working on your quotations, right? So me being your pricing desk manager, I can look into the detailed view here, and I can see where is your margin or our margin, right? Yours and mine, our joint margin hidden. And we see, for example, we have here in this terminal handling charges a margin. We might have something on the freight charges. So there is a little bit of room to maneuver to maybe drop here and there a little bit of money. So what we can do now is we can either edit this quote or maybe copy it, and now rework this quotation so that the customer will receive a new quote. So we could go in there and we can say, okay, we can ship from New York to Rotterdam, but if we go via Antwerp, we can make it cheaper. And also we would reduce the validity to, let's say, December, let's make it January 15. Like this, we can set a certain validity, and that means you can get a cheaper rate, but only during this time. And maybe we just take out certain line items which we don't need, or we improve, for example, like I do here, my margin on this one and just bring it to 10, confirm that it now calculates a new overall rate. Like this, I can rework all the line items here and bring down my overall margin and the overall price. And once I'm done with that, I can respond now to the customer and say, hey, here you go, save this offer. And now the client got a new quotation listed in here, which is now the option to Antwerp, on where we match their rate request, right? So this means now that the customer should get a notification. They receive an email. They receive a pop-up notification while it's there in the portal. They also receive a browser notification. So that means like Google will tell them, watch out on your freight portal, something has happened. And if we have missed that all, then there is this notification panel here right on top, where we see now that there was a new rate posted to our quotation. We can go in there and we see now that we have a new option here with one to Antwerp for a reduced rate, right? So your customer now should find a new rate here. We can apply the filters I was talking about earlier. So now we just have this option here to Antwerp. And if we want, we can now look into the details again. We can look into the breakdown of charges. We can see the important remarks. And now you see something has changed here on the next departures. I told you we link the schedule logic to the quotations. So that means in this case, we have a much reduced validity for the quote. We have changed our routing a little bit. And with this now we see next available departures are much fewer, right? So we'll just see 2 because the validity has decreased so much. But if I'm happy now as a customer, I can select this departure and now go into my booking process. The whole concept of this digital portal is to reduce the workload for all parties involved tremendously. So wherever we can, we are recycling data that we have used earlier. Like in this case now in the booking process, you see all the information that we had already somehow generated during the quotation process is already in the booking. We can now provide additional information on references, shipment parties, cargo details, and so on, but we don't have to. You see a lot of the validation check marks are green. We try to keep the amount of mandatory fields as low as possible. However, if you, for any operational reasons, tell us to activate some fields as mandatories, we can certainly do that. Yeah, I just provide here for my demo purpose now my shipper and consignee reference. I will also quickly show you how to enter the shipment parties. And there are, apart from just obviously keying in the information, a few smart ways to do that. I can use the buttons here on top and, for example, use Google Places, which directly helps me to find the address of my shipper, right? So if I know my shipper is sitting in Times Square, then I can just key that in and it takes over a lot of the information that I had already before. I can also use the address book. The address book is a repository of all the features that I have in, or all the addresses that I used before. So in this case, I might just use the example here and check for New York, search for New York, find my company here, select that one and put it in. On the consignee side, I can do something similar. I can use either my address book or use this button here. I am the consignee. Now it just takes over the details, what it knows about me. And then we have the option to provide additional information on cargo details, terms and requirements, and share attachments. So the portal tool here serves at the same time also as a digital archive. And that means as from the moment of booking, which I'm going to do now, and the booking gets accepted by your teams or by me working for you again, right? As from that moment, the booking will also serve as a digital archive for all further communication. So that means once the booking is in the system, we have the option, to use here the archiving function. Let me just jump in view of the time to one of the shipments that we might already have in the system. So this is how a shipment looks now from a customer point of view. And maybe we use just a different example now. Just that I show you also another move, perhaps my air shipment here. So let's say we here, in this case, an air shipment, which goes from Africa, in this case, to Frankfurt in Germany. You see we display, in this case, the summary of the shipment from where to where it goes. We show the same information a little bit on a map, and on the right side, in terms of a time bar here, in terms of milestones. And we have an activity tracking here. The activity tracking also serves a little bit like a black box in an airplane. So every change that I, as a customer, or my operators or your operators are doing in the office are recorded here. So that means we keep a track exactly on who does what to a shipment. And it also serves for us as a comment function. So I can leave here comments and say, hey, can you give me an update? For example, and I post this here directly on top, like in Facebook timeline if you want, and an operator can now respond to that. Yeah, as I mentioned, here in attachments, we can constantly upload certain attachments, use that as a digital archive, share files with each other. And this option actually helps us and helps our operational teams to keep the information or the process with the customer as lean, as clean as possible. We have more functionalities in here. However, in view of the time, I don't have the option to go through all of them. What I just want to highlight is quickly an overview of what you can do as well. Your customer has a dashboard as well as your operators have, where you can just keep track of all the shipments which are on the water, on the way, and how they are performing. We have the option to run or let our customers do purchase orders through the tool, so they can run entire purchase orders and ship them here. We have the option to create our own schedules, manage our own schedules, and your customer can run reports. That means statistics for everything they have done. The same obviously goes for you, so you can run statistics on your customers and help your clients to get actually in a better way with you. Yeah, and then I think this would be the main functionalities from my side. I have spent, I guess, like 3, 4, 5 more minutes than I should. And I would hand it back now to my colleagues, and happy to answer your questions later in the chat.
Thank you, Harm. It was a great demo. Super informative, and it was great to see the portal in action. All right, so for our last question, we wanted to know if you're interested in learning more about Magaya. We'll bring up the poll module and you can answer through there. All right, thank you. Now, let's open the floor up for some questions. You can submit your questions via the Q&A panel and we'll answer them in the order that they come in.
Brilliant. I think we have already a couple of interesting questions here. So there was one from Rebecca. She asked, are the rates that will be populated here our net contract rates with each shipping line? So the logic that we normally apply here is, right, obviously we don't give you net rates to your customers, right? You wouldn't do that in your real business life, and we also don't do it when we go digital. So what we do is the rate management engine normally takes your buying rates, right, from the various carriers, and you apply a margin on top. You apply the margin level based on customers, based on customer segments and so on, and based on that we go out to the customers through the digital channels and we display the rates. So the rates that you see here, or that we would display here in our portal, will always be your selling rates. Also, I'm not sure it was also included in the question, but I just use the opportunity to answer it. You don't necessarily have to display the shipping lines, right? So if you feel like we don't want to show which shipping line we are using, then you don't have to do that, right? We just think it's a good way to deal with customers and to show them different options, right? You can go fast and expensive, or slow and cheap, right? So this kind of way, that's why we include this here. I hope this is answering your question. And then to read at the same time. I'm not sure, Fernando, Christian, if you want to take any of the questions.
Yeah, I'll take one, Harm.
Yeah.
This one is from Kenneth. So the question is if the data exchange is direct between the Megaya platform and the data source, in example, carriers, terminals, etc., or a third-party data warehouse. Yeah, the answer is yes. This data will be interacting between our portal and the source in different ways. Most of it comes from APIs that we can use to provide all this data to the portal.
Yeah, then we had a question from James. I think this is related, and I hope I understand it correct, James. I think it's related to a question that you asked earlier to Christian here already, right? It goes about terms and conditions. So you ask, are terms and conditions present? So that means, yes, it is. So we have, first of all, a section for your terms and conditions, where the general terms and conditions can be visible, can be included, but then also you have in the quote directly the options to have for certain trade lanes, certain special remarks, certain special conditions. As I said, you might have, I think I gave the example of maybe exclusions for certain dangerous cargo, long length limitations and so on. So you can really enter that there. And you also have the option if you do a spot quote. So that means like if you respond to a customer request who wants to, for example, have a certain rate, and you say, okay, I can do this under the condition that you booked this month and under the condition that's like non-stackable, that's stackable and so on. Then you can add this certain terms and conditions or these remarks directly when quoting. And in that case, the customer specifically even has to acknowledge by pressing a button saying yes, that he agrees to your terms and conditions. So the answer is yes, you're in full control of that part as well. I hope that was answering the question. Otherwise, happy to jump into that again. Yeah, then we can take the next one here. Does this work for air and trucking shipments also? So currently the portal solution is linked to an ocean or an air move, right? So it works perfectly fine for ocean, FCL and LCL, as well for air. So for these modes, we have it currently under operation. Normally a trucking move is always linked to a deep sea move or an air move in our case, but it works for all modes of transport in principle. Then we have a question about allocation management here.
Can take that one.
Yeah, can you take that one, Christian? Yeah.
Yeah, so question was, does Megaya show the real allocation on vessels from carriers? So as far as a querying the carrier directly to see what's already booked and what's available on a specific vessel, we only have the ability to go there with their schedules data as good as it is, so if they're not marking a sailing full on their schedule, then we aren't able to do that either. However, for a forwarder or NVO that has an allocation contract with a carrier where they need to meet certain volumes every year to get an incentive, our Catapult QMS product does that, track that. So the allocation, in the sense of like recommending to you to put the booking through carrier A rather than carrier B, because you're about to meet your allocations quota with carrier A. If you do so, that part we have today in our Catapult rate and quote management system. I hope that answered the question.
In the meantime, just whilst we're waiting if there are more questions coming in, obviously there was today a very small fraction that you have seen of the portal's product, right? So just want to say I'm more than happy to give you all individual demos still, where we can go into more detail whenever you're interested. I think we will talk a little bit after on how to reach us and how to get in contact for this. But very, very happy to do customized demos here.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thank you for helping us answer all those questions. Any of the unanswered questions we got, we will send you the responses via email after the webinar is done, along with the recording. So thank you so much for joining us today and participating in the webinar. Until next time, take care.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.